Hey everyone, it's JT O'Donnell from Workday Daily, and welcome to my LinkedIn live stream where today I'm going to be kicking it off by talking about 3 rookie job interview mistakes that you don't want to make. So here I am. Hello, LinkedIn. How are you today? So this is actually based on an article that I wrote here for LinkedIn as part of my newsletter series just a few weeks ago, and I would definitely want to bring that up and show it to you, where I talked about what makes hiring managers cringe. And it was interesting, got a lot of commentary on this, especially as I walk you through these 3 things. The first one in particular, people had a lot of discussion around. So I hope you head over to the article itself and read through it. But I want to get right into this and tell you 3 things that as a job seeker today, you get an interview, which is already hard enough to do. These are 3 things you definitely don't want to do in the interview. Now, you might think that this is going to be for individuals who are new on the scene, younger job seekers. Let me tell you something. I have seen people of all ages make this mistake, or mistakes plural, and it's because nobody teaches us this stuff. We don't know what's really going on in the dynamic of the interview. So I think I want to paint a little picture for you on that before we begin. So understand, you are not an employee, you are a business of one. And when you go on an interview, you are looking at this company like a potential partner. So you want to sell your services. You want to get the gig. It's worth thousands and thousands of dollars for you. So you have to put yourself in the mindset of your business partner, your potential business partner, and think about what's really important to them. They're going to spend thousands of dollars right now. So what kind of partner, what are the values and the beliefs they want this partner to have in order to trust them, respect them, and really want to do great things together? So important that we understand that. So I want you to think about that for a second. Really put yourself in that framework, because as I show you these mistakes, you're going to understand that they all have to do with you not thinking about the perception of your brand. And you know I'm all about brand here. We are a brand. If we're a business of one, we have a brand, and we can choose to brand ourselves and control the messaging around our brand, or we cannot pay attention to it and risk having problems like failing in an interview. So that's what I want you to think about: your brand message, how that's coming across in the interview, and what they're really thinking about you as a potential partner. Can they trust you? Do they respect you, what you value and you believe in? Okay. All right. So we're going to talk about the first mistake, and I'm going to just bring myself up here on the screen. The first mistake people make is that when it's their turn to ask a question, their very first question is, how much does it pay? This is not the first thing you want to ask in an interview. Now, I'm not saying that you're not going to discuss salary. And this is where I got an awful lot of pushback from people who said, you know, JT, they've strung me along. They didn't tell me how much it was. We go through the interview process and, you know, I can't even live off the wage that they're offering. You know, I've gotten all that kind of feedback. But again, you just put yourselves in their shoes. They've sat and interviewed you. Now it's your turn to ask a question. And the first thing you want to know about your potential business partner is how much they're going to pay you. That tips your cards. It tells them that all you care about is the money right now. You didn't hear anything they said about the job, how important it was to the organization. You aren't giving any sense that you care long-term about its growth and that you see yourself there. All you care about is the money. So you do not want this to be your very first question. Now, in a lot of cases, they've posted the salary in the job description, or perhaps you did a phone screen and they asked you what you were looking to make. So this might not even come up. But if you do go on an interview and they haven't brought up the salary thing, don't ask. And here's my reason why. And I actually wrote another article in LinkedIn about this. The first person to talk about salary loses. Let me say that again. The first person to talk about salary loses, because you're showing your cards and talking about your focus on the money. You need to build as much value as possible. You want to be the person they choose. You want to be the business of one they said, we can't live without. You've beat out every other person that we're interviewing. You're it. Because that's when you sit in the driver's seat to talk about salary and potentially negotiate. So that if they present an offer to you, you can say, wow, you know, I've loved this interview process with you, and I like the company, and I can see my future here, and I can see the value. That's why this is really hard for me. This isn't, you know, where I need to be financially. Now, At this point, they're going to get honest with you. They really will. They'll either be able to raise the rate and give you more money, or they might flat out say, we can't afford it. This is what we set for the position. We literally can't spend more than this. In which case you can decide to walk away because it's totally your right. Or you could say to them, hey, what would it take to get me there in 6 months? I don't want to have to wait a whole year to get there. Could we work on something together so that I could get some kind of bump at 6 months? And then can we focus on a plan? So if you really love the opportunity, why throw it out because you don't get the exact salary you want? Unless, of course, you literally have too many expenses, whatever, you can't afford it, then you're going to have to move on. And that is the respectful thing to do. People say to me, well, why do I want to go through the whole interview or hiring process only to find out that they literally can't pay me my walkaway rate, the least amount that I can make? Here's why. Because they fell in love with you and they picked you. And even if you can't take the job and they have to move on to another candidate, you went through their process. You really showed that you were investing in it because you like them. I can't tell you how many times I've seen a situation where they now come back and say, there's a better role. There's a role where we can pay you more money. Something came available. Or they're staying in touch with you and it's a year from now and they can match your salary requirements. When you are interviewing and you get through an interview process, don't waste that. You've started a relationship with a business. If they can't hire you today, and if you can't come to terms, it's no reason to snub them or be angry. It's just no, not today. Keep the relationship alive. This could be your next employer in a year or two. You don't know. So again, I know people get frustrated, go, I spent all that time. Yeah, you're a business of one. Do you know how many salespeople have to go on sales calls and they don't end up getting the sale? But they do it anyways because maybe they don't get the sale this month or this year, but they get it later on. That's what good salespeople do. They play the long game. And you are a business of one, so play the long game. You don't talk about salary until they bring it up first, and that's when you're sitting in the driver's seat, okay? And again, we have an article on that. We also, over at Work It Daily, we have an entire course on salary negotiations, step by step what you should do. So be sure to check that out if you go over there. All right, so that's the first thing. Never make your first question about salary, okay? Big no-no, sends a brand message that all you care about is money. Now, the second thing that you don't want to do is when they ask you the question, why did you leave your last job? You say, it was because of the people, or, I had a problem with my manager, or anything related to working with other people, even if that's really the truth, is not your answer. You have just revealed to them that you are difficult to work with. And you're saying, but wait a minute, JT, my boss was the problem. My coworkers were the problem. Here's what I need you to understand. HR is taught there are 3 sides to every story. There's your side, there's their side, and then there's truth somewhere in the middle. So if you blurt out that you had an issue with people and you can't step back and look at the bigger picture and connect the dots around what happened in the process, then that's a problem to them. That's a red flag. I would much rather you say something like, I had a great run there for 18 months or however long, but then things started to change structurally within the organization. There were some changes in staff, and I just started to get the sense that I wouldn't be able to continue to be as successful as I was previously. And I knew that it was up to me to pick the right environment for myself. So it's not their fault. I can't ask them to change. They're doing what they're doing. I love them. I wish them well. But for me, I needed something where I was going to be able to leverage my strengths and really maximize my performance. And that's on me as a professional. This is what I mean about taking ownership of business of one. We got to stop blaming employers. And there are a few exceptions to this, but people have heard me say this over the years. There are no bad employers. There are no bad employees. There's just bad fits. Because the truth is, you could see, I've seen people go, oh my gosh, that environment is so toxic. Everyone there is a bully. And then I've seen somebody go into that organization and thrive. We're all different. We all need a different working environment. And I know that's hard to hear because there's something about us always wanting to be right. And, when things aren't going our way in work, we want to be able to blame. In fact, every year there's a study that comes up and says the #1 reason why people leave their jobs is their managers. And this is again where I say, I just don't think it's fair to blame the manager entirely. Yes, they have probably something to do with it. But if you're a mature adult, if you're a mature business of one, you can look at this a lot more objectively and say, look, business is business. The situation changed. It wasn't working for me. We didn't have the partnership that I was looking for. So I took the initiative and I decided I was going to go find a partnership that worked better for me, that I felt more satisfied in. This is how we have to start to think about it, folks. We don't want to blame people. I'm telling you, when you say something to that effect in these interviews, you are sending a big red flag up the pole to HR and to hiring managers. All right, now I'm going to talk about the third one. The last one is when they say, what do you want to know about the company? And again, similar to the salary one, it's all like when they say, what do you know about the company? What do you like about the company? Why did you want this job? So it's a little bit different question that they're asking you. You dive into something along the lines of, well, I heard your perks and benefits are awesome. That is a total career killer. Because very much like the first one, you're tipping your cards that all you care about is the money and the incentives. Companies want to hire somebody who is internally motivated. It's called intrinsic motivation. You need intrinsic motivation for the job, meaning beyond the paycheck, beyond the benefits, beyond the awesome workplace culture, which they know they have. That's the whole reason they put it in place. Good employers try to build a culture and benefits package to attract a very certain type of person. So they know it. You don't need to tell them that. But when that's what you care about, as opposed to you love the work, you love the customers, you love the values and beliefs of the company, you love their products and their services, that's the stuff they want to hear. They want to hear that you're going to want to get out of bed every day, every work day, even if things are tough, because you believe in what the company is doing. So when they ask you, what do you like about the company? Or what do you know about the company? And you start talking about their benefits and perks, and you heard it's an awesome place to work. That's just, okay, all you care about is the money and the perks. You're not really looking for work. You're not really looking for a business partner that you can trust and respect. They know you want the benefits and perks. You wouldn't be on the job interview if you didn't, folks. So you don't need to bring that up. You need to focus on what you admire about the organization itself in terms of what it does. Does that make sense to everybody? Those are three biggies. And like I said, it doesn't matter your age. I've seen people make this mistake at all ages and skill levels for sure. And it's just because we don't know what we're supposed to say. So with that in mind, a couple things, and then I'm going to go to live Q&A. First of all, you'll notice down below, I want more Instagram and TikTok friends. So if you're on Instagram or TikTok, please make sure you go to j.t.o'donnell and connect with me. I would love to see you over there on those platforms. But also, I want to bring it up. We've got amazing free resources, including an entire interview prep question resource that's free that covers what I've been talking about here today, plus like 15 other questions that you get and how to answer them and what to be thinking about. So you can see that here. You can go over to workitdaily.com resources, and that's where you can get that information. Okay, team?